Hello everyone and welcome to the next video of the Python for Microscopy course. Today it's all about loops. Loops are used to repeat certain blocks of code within your script, and we have different options in Python, for example the while, the for loop, and also specific statements to modify the control flow. Let's first talk about the while loops. They are used to repeat a block of code while a condition is true. Let's say our condition is that a counter, let's say it is 0 at the beginning, is lower than 5. While our counter is lower than 5, print out, for example, the counter. Now, if we don't change the counter now after the print statement or before, this could be dangerous. I want to show you why. Like this, the loop will run forever if we don't stop the computer. Let's terminate the program. We have to adapt this running variable in each iteration, or at least like in a way that the counter is finally not lower than 5 anymore, but equal or greater. So let's say after each print statement we increase counter by 1. Let's run the script again, and we can see here each whole number from 0 to 4 will be printed out. We can also say, okay, as long as counter is greater than 0, if counter is 5 at the beginning, and then we can say minus equal to decrease counter at each iteration. Like this, the whole numbers from 5 to 1 should be printed out. These are the while loops, and they are used if you want to repeat a set of statements based on this condition. It could be whatever you want. You have to make sure that it's not running forever. The next type of loops are the for loops. They are used for iterating over a sequence, or basically also over any counter you wish, but they are particularly useful for iterating over lists, tuples, strings, etc., or other iterable objects. For example, we have a list of fruits, for example bananas, apples, and oranges. And we want to iterate over each element, over each fruit in this list of fruits. For example, we say for fruit in list, or let's say list of fruits to give it a better name. So for each fruit in our list of fruits, print out the fruit. Let's see what happens. We can see each of these elements was printed out. Each of the elements in the list. We can also, for example, define a tuple instead of a list, because this is also an iterable object, and this should work as well, as we can see here. For each element, it tries to print them out, or it tries to print it out. And this is the same exact same result we have seen here. You could in theory use any other iterable object. We will talk about it in a later video, what that is, because each of these elements has a position in this data structure. We could also define a list of numbers. We could define a list of other data types to iterate over them. To recreate the while loop from a second before, we can also say, or at least in a similar way, let's say counter is equal to 5. And we can also iterate over the whole numbers from, let's say, 0 to 5 or 4 to print them out in a way like this. For this, we use a statement called range. For example, for number in range of counter. What this does is we can use it here isolated. Range of 5 will give us an object of the data type range from 0 to 5, and this object is basically also iterable, or is iterable, and we can iterate over it. So we don't iterate over the 5, we iterate over the range from 0 to 5. This is always excluding, at least in this default setting, excluding the 5 itself. So let's print out the number. And again, we can see that all the numbers from 0 to 4 are printed out. Now we can modify this loop by this so-called continue statement. The continue statement is used to skip the rest of the code inside the loop for the current iteration and move to the next iteration. So an iteration is defined as the execution of the code in this block, which belongs to this loop, in this case to this loop. And let's say we check if the number is equal to 2. So if number is equal to 2, we say simply continue with the next iteration. So don't execute everything that's coming after continue. Iterate over the next number in the range of 5 of the counter. Let's see what happens. As we can see, every whole number from 0 to 5, excluding 5, and also excluding the 2, will be printed out. The final statement I want to talk about is the break statement. It's used to exit the loop prematurely, regardless of the loop condition. For example, if we simply replace this continue here by break, then what will happen is we iterate over the range of numbers from 0 to 5. And if the number is equal to 2, we break out of this loop. So out of this construct here. Let's see what happens. Only the numbers 0 and 1 will be printed out. If we change this to 4, only the numbers until to 3, from 0 to 3 will be printed out. If we say 15, which is not possible in this case because counter is only 5, then everything will be printed out as in the beginning. So these were the while loop, the for loop, the continue and the break statement, which are very useful to repeat certain blocks of code, for example this one. And to, in addition to the conditional statements, are very important to control the program flow, to control where the computer is going in your script. As always, I have prepared some exercises that you can find in my GitHub repository. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below. Thank you for your attention and see you next time.